Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a fundamental choice in business. Maybe the fundamental choice right now. Are you just renting your audience's attention, or are you actually owning your future? We're going to break down why owning isn't just a nice idea, it's fast becoming a strategic must-have.
So let's start with the big question this slide is asking. Think about it. Every single dollar you pour into a social media ad, is that dollar building a permanent asset for your business? Or are you just paying rent on land that's owned by somebody else?
You know, this dependency creates what our source material calls the renter's trap, and it's a really vicious cycle. You become totally reliant on these platforms you don't control. And the craziest part is, the more you spend, the more you realize you have to spend, just to stay afloat.
Okay, so let's really tear this down. Let's deconstruct the flaws of this whole rental model. What is it that makes it so inefficient and, increasingly so incredibly risky for any modern business?
It really all boils down to three huge problems. First, you're stuck in this cycle of perpetual rent that never ever builds any real equity. Second, the data you think you're getting, it's often misleading, it's an illusion. And third, you're tying your business to massive risks you have absolutely no control over.
In this chart, wow, it just visualizes the whole economic problem perfectly. Just look at it. The ad spend bar is through the roof, but the results bar, it's totally flatlined. Companies are forced to just keep pumping in more and more money only to maintain their current position. You're literally paying more just to stand still.
And here's the kicker. Here's why that happens. You effectively become what the source calls an algorithmic hostage. See, over time, the platforms deliberately choke your free organic reach. And their goal is brutally simple. They want to force you to pay them to talk to the exact same audience you already spent a ton of time and money to build in the first place.
But it's not just about the cost, right? It's also about the data. The analytics these platforms give you can be a complete illusion. You get these nice, clean, sanitized reports about broad interest groups, but what they're doing is hiding the raw, granular, and unbelievably valuable data about how individual customers actually behave. You never get to really understand them.
And that illusion? Well, it's starting to crumble. All these privacy regulations like GDPR, plus Apple's huge tracking changes, are fundamentally breaking the entire third-party data model. So the very limited information you once had is decaying right in front of you, leaving you totally blind about what's actually working and what's not.
This dependency also creates an enormous strategic risk. I mean, your brand's reputation can get caught up in platform scandals overnight. You're facing a constant threat of censorship or even being completely deplatformed with almost no way to fight back. That is a seriously fragile foundation to build a business on.
So all of this leads to a really clear choice, a major fork in the road. The path on the left, that's the rental model. It's temporary, it's risky, and it's a depreciating expense. But the path on the right, that's the ownership model. That's a permanent asset that gives you deep insights, total control, and value that actually appreciates over time.
All right, so let's switch gears. Let's talk about the alternative and see how this builds a much more powerful and sustainable future. What does it actually mean to own your network?
Well, the single biggest advantage is achieving what's called data sovereignty. This just means you have 100% ownership and control of your customer data. You create this stable, high-quality pipeline of first-party insights that no algorithm or privacy update can ever take away from you.
And when you do that, you create this incredibly powerful feedback loop, a flywheel. It starts when a user interacts in your community. You capture that interaction as pure first-party data. Those raw insights then directly fuel better products and personalization. And guess what? This improves the user experience, which encourages even more interaction. The system literally feeds itself.
The result? Your community transforms from just a marketing channel into your single most effective R&D lab. You're getting unfiltered feedback, feature requests, all in real time. This slashes your research costs and helps you innovate way faster than your competitors.
But this shift, it's about way more than just data. It fundamentally transforms your customer base from this passive audience that you just shout at with ads into an active, invested community of real advocates. And this visual just captures the core financial difference perfectly. On the left, you've got ad spend. It's a cost that evaporates the second you stop paying. But on the right, every single dollar you invest in your own community builds a long-term, appreciating asset that starts generating its own value.
And that value comes back to you in the form of what's called a community dividend. Your members start creating content for you. They provide peer-to-peer support, which lowers your service costs. They become your brand advocates, and they offer priceless product feedback, all organically.
So when you own the platform, you just cut out the middleman and all their fees. This creates a way more efficient financial model. You end up with vastly lower customer acquisition costs, dramatically improved customer lifetime value, and you can even build your own custom monetization strategies without some third party taking a huge cut.
But ultimately, what ownership gives you is total control. You can finally design an experience that is perfectly engineered for your brand and your customers' needs, not for the distracting, noisy, chaotic environment of a generic social feed that's really just designed to serve other advertisers.
And this brings everything right back to that fundamental choice that businesses are facing today. Are you going to continue down the familiar but decaying path of renting, or will you start the crucial work of owning?
The source material that we've been walking through today concludes with this really powerful statement. It argues that true, sustainable, long-term value, it doesn't lie in temporary visibility. It lies in the direct ownership of your customer relationships. And so we're going to leave you with one final question. As you look at your own strategy, your own goals for the future, you have to ask yourself, are you going to keep paying rent, or are you going to start building an asset?